Welcome to our very first lab for our CIS 112 class. First thing we need to do is download and install VirtualBox. Something I have noticed though, for our Mac OS users, UTM might be a better option for virtual machine software. Just to explain what we're doing with this software and why we're installing it, this is essentially going to allow us to run a real Linux machine inside your computer. Virtual machines are a safe and secure way to run different operating systems on any computer. And so these software facilitate the management of those virtual machines. Think of virtual machine as like if your real computer just had like a smaller computer running on it, like a little baby version of it. And that baby, right, could be Linux, could be Mac, could be Windows, could be all kinds of operating systems. So you don't have to go out and buy yourself a Linux computer or buy yourself a computer and install Linux on it. You can simply just use one of these virtual machine managers. All right, so VirtualBox is definitely the way to go. It should work for Windows and Mac. But again, if you're running Mac, you run into issues later on in this lab, try using UTM instead. If you do try UTM and you still have problems, definitely reach out. We can meet and figure out those issues together. I will say though, try to debug as much as you can on your own. I know the installation process can be stressful, can be difficult. But in you debugging, like troubleshooting those issues, you can actually learn quite a few different things, and you'll show and you'll prove to yourself, right, that you are capable of doing that. I can tell you on the job, half of it was just troubleshooting issues, right, installing new software, trying out new tools. You run into all sorts of problems, but every time you run into a problem, you learn something new, something to avoid in the future. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So I'm gonna navigate to the VirtualBox website. Lucky for us, I do have a new computer, so I'm gonna go through the entire process with you. So I now have Windows, so I'm gonna go to Windows, hit save. It should be a quick download. Gonna just click through the installation process, make sure you accept. And then we'll reset your network connection and temporarily disconnect you from the internet. That should be fine. Missing dependencies. Let's say yes. Create a start menu, shortcut. Let's hit next, install. All right, there you go. It's installing. That might take a second. So I might pause the video here. All right, the installation process did finish. I'm gonna go ahead and hit that finish button. And there it is. That's VirtualBox. Simple as that. So this is not the only thing we're going to download. We're actually going to also need the actual Linux file, right? The operating system download file and files, I should say, right? So that's going to be in the form of an ISO image. So we're going to navigate to the Ubuntu website. So this is one distro of Linux, one version of Linux. So we're gonna download the desktop version. So make sure it's the desktop version. So I'm gonna put that right here. Desktop. I had someone download the server one last time, and I know they installed it because they didn't watch my video. So make sure, yeah, you are always watching my videos. I try to make this class as easy as possible, and watching these videos is definitely the way to go. So I hit download. This one's not specific, right, to an operating system because this is the operating system we're going to be using. So it doesn't matter if you're Mac, Windows, you'll be downloading the same Ubuntu version. Now, depending on when this video was published, right, and when you take the class, the version might be newer. Just always go with the latest. Something to try though, if you do run into issues later on, you could try older versions of the Ubuntu ISO image. Yeah, so here's check out alternative downloads. And there's older versions of it, past releases and other flavors here. So yeah, definitely an option if you run into issues. So this is quite a big download. Notice it's 5.9 gigabytes, so make sure you do have the space on your computer as well. That is going to be required. So Windows or Mac computer, maybe I add that to our prerequisites. Access to the internet, enough space on your computer, or I'll keep access to the internet and enough storage for our downloads. All right, so that should be downloading. Let me keep an eye on that actually. Oops. Let's see. So yeah, it's gonna take a while, so I'll hit pause on this video while that downloads. All right, so my download finally completed. I'm gonna navigate to VirtualBox. As you can see here, I already have a VM ready to install, but I'm gonna walk you through the process. So for the naming, I'm gonna go with my first name, Will's VM, right? Or Will VM, doesn't really matter as long as your first name's there. And then you're gonna go to ISO image and select the one that we downloaded. If you don't see it right away, you might have to hit other and then navigate to wherever that download went, right? Notice it's gonna filter out to just the disk image file type because that's the one we need, that ISO image for Linux to run. So I'm gonna hit open. I'm gonna leave all these defaults, Linux, Ubuntu. And then I'm going to go to the next step, unattended install. So here you can set the username and password for your VM. I like to keep the defaults. Default is change me, all lowercase. But if you want to give it extra security, right, for your VM, that's definitely an option, right? If you're in a business setting, that's always a good idea. This is for school, for practice, right? So we can just leave the defaults if you'd like. Always a good idea to put the guest editions on. So check that box on. And then you're going to select that same ISO image. It's going to have something called guest editions, which essentially allows you to copy paste from your real computer onto the virtual machine and other features as well. But yeah, always a good idea to check that off. Not necessary, but definitely recommended. So this is the part that's different from computer to computer. Here we're allocating resources from our real computer's resources to the virtual machine. So as you can see, these values are for my computer specifically. Yours is going to have an entirely different set of values. Might be stronger for some of you. If you have gaming computers, might be weaker, right? If you're running on like a regular laptop. All right, so this is the tricky part, is you have to give it enough power so that the virtual machine runs smoothly, but not too much that it kind of slows down your entire computer. So if you max it out, right, these orange and red areas, that's where it's too much work for your computer, right? Not enough resources are being allocated to your regular computer and too much to the virtual machine. So that's just gonna make things run impossibly slow on both ends. You definitely don't want to go too low either, because then your virtual machine's not gonna have enough juice, right, to actually run smoothly. A good rule of thumb is around 33%, maybe a quarter. Same for the processors here. So yeah, just kind of a recommendation. I can tell you, setting up VMs in my professional role as a software developer, I spent weeks on this one application just testing it out in the VM, and I was able to test out the different resource allocations, right? Maxing it out, keeping it low. And this is how I came up with these recommendations. But again, it's going to look different for everyone. When you get to hard disk, the next section, I usually just give it at least 100 and then hit finish. That might not be possible, right, on certain computers. But yeah, just give it as much as you can, right? 100 is a good rule of thumb. And then you're going to hit finish. And that should start up the VM. So I already have one running here. And then it says, oh, okay, report the problem. So ran into an issue here. So didn't actually finish running the install for me. Now everything does look good for the most part, but when I get to my terminal and I run Yeah, it's not having the correct users here. I can certainly hit reset and see if that fixes it. We're gonna give that a moment to see if that fixes it. If not, we could always try an older version of Ubuntu. All right, so the install did appear to fail, but everything was there. I hit reset, so that was machine reset. You can also do that via the actual VirtualBox manager. Right click, reset, machine, reset. And it worked. I have VBox user, right? So you should see your own username. I type in the change me password, and yeah, everything looks good. I successfully uh, installed Ubuntu, right? Not without any issues. I didn't downgrade to any versions. All I did was hit reset on the machine to see if that would work. So yeah, you might have to reset your actual computer during some of these installations. You might have to reset the virtual machine. You're gonna run into problems, right? But don't let that stress you out too much. That's just typical, right? When we're working with technology software, things don't always run as they should. But yeah, this looks good. You can hit next. You can just kind of skip all this stuff. I'm gonna put no on this. Hit finish. And you're gonna want to submit a screenshot of your virtual machine running. So if you know your keyboard shortcuts, you can do that pretty quickly. And that's a good screenshot for you to submit. In fact, I'm gonna paste my own screenshot um, onto the lab. So let's see. Yeah, it gets tricky because if you're in the virtual machine and you try to do like certain clicks, um, it's gonna um, it's gonna think you're still in the virtual machine. So usually I click outside to my real machine. There we go. Now I can take my screenshot. Yeah, that's gonna happen a lot because you're running two machines at the same time. All right, that looks good enough. All right, so let's put that in our lab assignment for this week. Sample screenshot. There it is. And notice I can see Will's VM up there, right? And whatnot. Let me make this a little bit bigger. I don't like it going into the next page. And we'll just, yeah, go to the next page, I guess. Make this big so you guys can see the example. And there it is. That is my virtual machine. And I do have a new computer, so you can trust that I did it from scratch. And again, I ran into some issues along the way, right? But yeah, once you get this far, you'll be ready to go for the class. All right, if you have any questions or concerns, make sure to first try some of the troubleshooting tips I give you here. And then if you've tried everything right, then definitely let's meet and I can help you debug together. All right, that's it for this module. As always, right, feel free to reach out with any questions or concerns. And I will see you till the next one.